Books are the best long-form entertainment product. Vivid imagination.
So I thought we'd start with asking Larry what he thinks about snow.
Oh, what?
About snow. Why do you remain in this state when all you ever do, it seems? I remember one time you were shoveling snow when I called you, and it was like March.
Okay, to be fair, I don't live on the side with all the traffic. It's not bad. So I live on the other side of the mountain.
What do you love about Utah? In other words?
Oh, I love Utah. I've lived in Utah since '93. I moved here from California. Don't hold that against me, guys.
But the Buck Owens part of California, right? San Joaquin Valley.
I lived in the cows and plows part of California, so I'm a political refugee. I snuck across the border, so I've been in Utah. I graduated Delta High School. Go Rabbits! No Delta people in here. No, I love Utah. So I actually live over on the other side of the Wasatch Front, and so we have my whole county has 0 stoplights. So this whole like sitting in Salt Lake traffic for 5 hours thing, I don't do that. But we do get a lot of snow where I live. But I have a snowplow, and it's actually snowplowing is kind of fun.
Yeah. Especially when you're snowplowing zombies.
you work with what you know. Though I don't have a snow cutter, I do have a snow blower. But now that I have like a half a mile driveway, we don't really use the snow blower anymore. We just use the plow. And no, it's pretty fun. So winter I have a part-time job snow plowing my place. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And though this year most of the snow plowing was done by the lovely Mrs. Correia, because I was either sick or injured every time it snowed. or my neighbor Devin Doherty. Devin came and rescued me. We had when we had mega snow. Remember the year before last, guys, where we had like mega super crazy snow? So up where I live, we had so much snow. So one day, and it was the day of the prom, my son needed to go to the prom, right? So we had 4 feet of snow that morning. And so Devin came to help me. So we had my pickup pointed one direction, and Devin's pickup pointed the other direction. And as one of us would get stuck, we'd attach the other guy's tow strap and yank him out. And we did that for how many hours? Yeah, and so I had pictures of Devin's big truck, his is taller than mine, where he's in it and the snow is coming up over his doors and over his window or over his mirrors in front of my house. So yeah, we live in the fun part of Utah.
So should we use this as a pivot to the new books? Because you mentioned you grew up in the cows and plows part of California, and that you live out here and you love Utah. We recorded a podcast where you said you think of yourself, you are a Westerner, and that is the milieu we find ourselves in this new series. So
this one I'm going Western, but it's modern. It's contemporary times, but it's set in the Intermountain West, and so set in the Western U.S. So it's going to be primarily Utah, Colorado, northern Arizona, New Mexico, first scenes in Wyoming, Great Basin, that kind of thing. So I already have one urban fantasy series that's primarily set in the South, and the monsters on that I've drawn from literally everything. This one I want to go, it's a little more mythology of the American West kind of thing. And plus I've never done those of you who follow me on Facebook know where this is coming from, and I've been talking about this for the last year. I've never done a loner vigilante character, problem solver, Repairman Jack, the Equalizer, Jack Reacher kind of dude who goes around solving problems. And mostly of a mundane nature, but then we get into the supernatural. And so, I'm having a lot of fun with the setting. And I was originally pitching it to Tony. I was telling him Cowboy John Wick, though it's way more grounded in the violence than John Wick. So even though I could have like ancient legendary monsters and creatures and supernatural stuff, it's still more grounded than John Wick. Don't get me wrong, I love John Wick, but as a gun guy,
That you actually, your hero could probably get hurt.
yeah, no, the hero has no supernatural powers. He's just a dude, and honestly, by my standards, a small guy because he's 6'1" and 190, which is like not
A tiny man.
for a Korea protagonist. That's on the small side.
That's true.
Yeah, that's like my second smallest protagonist because I have
Do
Lorenzo.
you think? Yeah, is Lorenzo a little guy?
Yeah, Lorenzo's like 5'6".
No.
Yeah, he's
Wow, I'm taller than Lorenzo.
no, he's not a big dude. He's only, but he's
pretty
about
badass.
160. So yeah,
So,
I'm writing a middleweight. Never done that.
we can categorize our heroes by boxing.
Yeah, most of my
boxing
guys are heavyweights or super heavyweights. Let's be honest.
There you go.
Maybe that's our gimmick for Ark. We categorize them by the
right.
Dewey Decimal System for their boxing weight.
That's right. We'll have a graph on the back, and you can make your selection.
Yeah, I'm up there with. It's just my division's like me and Butterbean.
So, do you think maybe?
He'd kill me though. That guy's awesome.
I mean, I know that you're drawing a lot from. Before we get into like some of the supernatural elements, it felt when you were describing it to me, it felt like you were drawing on a lot of Larry lore from your real life. That and I really like that because you've had like an interesting path into being a writer.
Yeah, so my background is like I come from the blue collar farming kind of background. I grew up on a dairy farm, so everything around me growing up was just country, and cows and plows. I was an FFA kid. For those of you, any American farmers here, FFA? Yeah, see, there's a couple of us. Okay, so we went to Kansas City for the awards. No, so I grew up in that environment. Working with heavy equipment since I was 10 years old, and learned to weld when I was 12. That's just kind of okay. So yeah, he's not. He understands, and that's what I grew up with. And so my whole life, up until I switched over and became an accountant, that's the kind of background I had. Like I said, I went to Delta High School. If any of you guys been to Delta, okay, so it's like middle of nowhere out there. It's just cowboys and punching cows and hay, and that's what you do. And so I've grown up around the West, and I spent a lot of my time around people like that. And then my other world is the guns. I come from the gun business, and so I bounced around a lot in this part of the country, going to different matches and events and shooting stuff. And I love this part of the country, and I kind of wanted to draw upon those people, that culture, and wanted to have some fun with it. Like, I'm an LTUE, so like 90% of you are Mormon, but I spent the last 5 years as a priest quorum advisor, with a bunch of 16, 17, 18-year-olds, and where I'm at, it's all cowboy kids and jocks and whatnot, and those are the guys I grew up around, and so being around them now, they haven't changed much, really. These guys are a lot more cultured and less sweary than the ones I grew up around. But no, so when I'm going through the backstory of this guy, it's somebody from this world. It's somebody who grew up in that world, and then has a really horrible experience when he's a teenager, where he gets a glimpse of the other side and the stuff that's out there. And what happens is, you guys into like Missing 411? No? Okay. Yeah. Fascinating stuff. Okay. If you want to like unnerve yourself, go look up the Missing 411 cases, and then you'll never walk through the woods again without being slightly paranoid. It's about missing people across America. And so this guy has an experience like that when he's a teenager. And that's his encounter with the supernatural. He comes away pretty changed by it and paranoid as hell. So from this point on, he decides he's going to be prepared for next time. And from what he sees, it is vulnerable to, physical violence. And so he decides he's going to get as good at that as humanly possible. Dude goes on, he's working all the odd jobs that guys like us work, construction and ranch hand and hunting guide and all that kind of stuff. He's coming up to that, but he's always looking for the monsters. He's always looking for that supernatural again, but he doesn't see it. But he's at the same time, he's paranoid. He's been preparing himself for to fight evil, to fight monsters, so it doesn't happen. What doesn't happen to him and his family when he was young doesn't happen to somebody else. Except he doesn't see that again. However, he does see human evil, and he sees there are monsters out there. It's just not the ones he's looking for. And there's a saying that I've used quite a few times in different things and on the internet, and some of you probably see me argue with these people who deserve it. There's a lot of people in the world who are only alive because decent people don't want to serve time. Okay? And we all know, and as I said that, you all thought of a different person, right? Okay, so what happens though is this guy has an incident, and this is something I don't want to share with the group, but I told Tony the story of something I had happen to me when I was young, when I was in my early 20s. I had an incident with a very, very bad person, a very, very, very violent person who had done a lot of harm, and everybody knew he was a bad guy. Everybody knew this dude was a bad dude. Everybody knew this was a violent man, a threatening man, a guy capable of great evil. But no one did anything about it because it wasn't our place. We weren't the law, and the law didn't care. And I actually got in an altercation with this guy, and I true story, nearly shot him. I was prepared to shoot him, and I didn't shoot him. And actually, legally speaking, as a guy who went on to be a concealed weapons instructor, legally speaking, I was in the right to not shoot him. Because if I had shot him, it would have been legally questionable. But he deserved it, and I didn't. A couple years later, he wound up murdering some innocent people, or an innocent woman, and it was a situation. And I don't know if Brian Durfee's here, but you guys know Brian Durfee? Brian Durfee he's now a resident of Brian Durfee's, okay, at Utah State Penitentiary. And so this was a thing where it's from my real life. I was like, that feeling of like, this is a horrible person that could have been stopped by decent people earlier on, and nobody did anything because they didn't want to get in trouble with the law. And then later on, decent people paid for his evil. And then we've seen that a million times. We've seen that in the world. And so in this fictional scenario, I've got a guy who's prepared for violence and looking for it, actively looking for it, sees a situation like that, doesn't do what needs to be done because he's like the rest of us still at that point. Only that person does something horrible, and then he lives with that. He's like that he could have stopped it and he didn't. But from that point on, something is broken. And it's like, you know what? Decent people don't want to go to jail. I'm not a decent person. And so from that point on, he starts doing the stuff that most of us would do if we didn't care. And so that's our hero. And so basically it's somebody who starts taking care of problems. Some mythology starts to grow up around this individual as it kind of does, rural America Punisher world tour. And I'm also working with Mike Barron on a comic book project right now. So when I say Punisher, I'm thinking of Mike Barron's Punisher. Yeah, really good stuff. And so the guy starts taking care of problems, like I said, like Equalizer style, starts fixing things that are righting wrongs. Some people start to learn about this. Obviously, the guy has to play it on the download so as not to go to prison. Kind of a network grows up around him where people start feeding him information about people across the West who are doing bad things and getting away with it. And that's where we start.
The West is, talk about a little bit more about it seems like while there's America, there's different mythologies that stick more in certain places than in other places.
Okay, so one of the things, anybody a Louis L'Amour fan? Any Louis L'Amour fans here? Okay, hell yeah. Yeah, all right, Louis L'Amour is awesome. Okay, you guys know, like, most of his Westerns were played pretty straight, but he had several where he delved into, like, supernatural. So people don't realize that Louis L'Amour, actually, before urban fantasy was a thing, that Louis L'Amour was an urban fantasy author. Straight up. The one that was the most overt, though, was the Haunted Mesa. Anybody remember Haunted Mesa? Okay. Basic premise behind the Haunted Mesas, he took Hopi Indian legends, where the Hopi where they had crawled up through their kivas from the third, which is their ceremonial sites, okay, in their ruins. that they had come up through a hole from the third world, and now they're here in the fourth world. Okay, it's cool as hell. Great book. Well, I mean, a little dated, obviously. It was written a long time ago, but great premise where basically worlds collide, which is, as you guys have read a lot of my fantasy, you know I love that. Yeah, that's the whole premise behind Servants of War, only it's a dark fairy tale world. Okay, there's Steve. Yeah, I'm my co-author on that. And so I love that premise. I love when worlds collide. And so one of the things that I'm doing in this is the way Tony referred to it was kind of like, you guys know when you're out in the desert and you see the storm front coming across the desert, you know? Imagine that, only it's an invisible world to another reality. Okay? It was one of the old Louis L'Amour legendary things was like, if you were ever out in the woods and you're in a place and you're sitting there and all of a sudden everything seems really different, like oddly different and strange, like you out of place, don't move. Stay there until it goes back to normal. Okay? Because if you move off that spot, you might not be coming back. Okay? And that's actually a myth of the Old West thing that's been around since the beginning. And so I'm going to have a little bit of fun with that. And we have a wealth of really cool legends to work with, too.
Yeah. Jackalopes. No, I'm joking.
Jackalopes. I could go jackalope if you could.
It's gonna have to be a really bloody evil. It's like the gnome fight in Moscow.
Oh yeah, I'll rough up that jackalope.
That's right. They are really mean creatures, actually.
Man, there's some crazy stuff out there to work with. Like honestly, like there's some. Yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but if I'm doing colliding worlds too, I mean, there's no reason I can't have, like say for example, a modern day Aztec kill team. Okay.
That's a good.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Better you
It's
do that, Larry.
It's pretty. It's actually pretty wicked when 12 Aztecs roll up on your house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm having some fun with it.
They need to cut some horks up.
I got the outline done, and like I said, I started writing the first couple chapters today.
Cool. David, do you have any question or two?
I'm trying to think. Do we want to talk about?
Yeah.
Okay, so
So structurally.
And I don't know if we've got this completely hammered out. Like we said, we started about 6 weeks ago on all of this
We're working
officially.
on it.
But Larry's been talking about the new series and the novel, but there is a different kind of novel that you're going to be working, that we're going to kind of release as a teaser in tandem with this, which is a graphic novel. So we can talk about that a little bit.
Is it the first Korea?
I don't know if this will be the first or the second, depending on timing.
Yeah.
So I have another project that I can't talk about publicly yet.
What's it about?
It's based on one of my books. And so I do have one graphic novel project in the works, and then this would be a graphic novel.
Well, I think we're going to try to make it come out because I want to have something to sell for Christmas. So we'll see if that happens, but I think we can do it.
And honestly, both of these, because I'm just the writer, is out of my hands.
We have, by the way, at our vendor table in there, we have the artist that I think is the perfect match for this. We have one of his books that's called Always with Honor showing, and you can see the art. And I just looked at this and I said, yeah, this would go with a Korea novel or a Korea book. And I think this is going to be a fantastic project as well.
I'm pretty excited.
So.
And this will be it is not an adaptation of the novel you're writing for. This is going to be a standalone, or not
separate short story
piece. So
or novella size, whatever works out to be. So a separate thing that ties in, which will timeline-wise actually be slightly after the first book.
Yeah. So, but it will be fasterly written. So,
Graphic novels are the format is way different.
It's like a short story.
And honestly, like I said, this is why I have help, because that is not my forte. So I can do story, but as far as the actual, making the thing. We have other people who know what they're
Well,
doing.
that Alex Wisner is going to be, it's going to be on it. He is fully committed to working with you in every way.
Because I'm not one of those guys who thinks because I'm good at one thing, I'm automatically good at everything else. Okay, I don't have Neil deGrasse Tyson syndrome. Okay, man's got to know his limitations. I know book writing, accounting, guns, and mini painting. Beyond that, I used to be pretty good at World of Tanks. Beyond that,
And by mini painting, he means painting little figurines and playing D&D with them.
yeah.
That's pretty good.
In fact, somebody just delivered me some sample brushes. So
Oh my
very
God!
cool.
Yeah, Larry's in heaven.
Yeah, actually, those are nice.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. We got back there, standing up, sir.
Yeah, so for the book you're writing for Ark, you mentioned 411. Is there a specific missing 411 case that you based your protagonist's experience on?
Not particularly, no, because those obviously we don't know what happened on the weird ones. We don't know because I mean, for those who don't know, David Paulides is a former police officer who started looking into missing persons cases around national parks, and a lot of them were pretty. They have an explanation. Somebody just wandered off the trail, got lost, died of dehydration. Pretty standard stuff. But some are just weird as hell, like weird as hell. And where people just like vanished and they found their bodies in the most impossible places ever. Like, how did this guy take his shoes off, walk 27 miles through boulder fields and on the other side of a mountain range and then die? It's like there's weird stuff like that. Okay, so not one in particular.
Where's this guy? Is he like an AM radio guy, or is he?
Well, he's been on AM radio a lot, but he's got a podcast and he's written a bunch of books. But like I said, if you read these, I mean, most of them I'm sure have normal explanations. But if you read these, you will never go out in the woods again, without a little element of paranoia, which is good in the woods. But not one in particular. I'd say probably the documentary The Hunted was the one that gave me the most like, oh, damn, that's creepy. You know what I mean?
Cool.
So, yeah.
Bales?
Those are fascinating, though.
Sir.
I think you mentioned this before as a sequel to the Grimoire Chronicles. So
Yeah, so I want to do another trilogy set in the 1950s. I did a couple short stories that were kind of feeling out that vibe. Tokyo Raider and Bombshell. We're both feeling out that, and also Murder on the Orient Elite would have been like kind of an in between of the things. Now where that falls as far as in my schedule of actually writing it, don't know. My problem with Grimoire is it did pretty good for that stage of my career, but it's not like a big smash hit compared to like some other stuff. So as far as it's just kind of scheduling it in.
Let's get.
So
to
there was
some
a
of these
couple
areas.
from the emails for the people who are RSVP. So
We promised the people that are SVP that we would get to some of their.
yeah, so one person asked you brought up the in defense of the Second Amendment, which was but you can probably guess what it's about. No quartering, is that the second?
Lit
Which one is
RPG.
it? Yeah. And since your editor on that is sitting next to me, and he is no longer editing nonfiction, this may answer the question. But do you have any plans for any I mean, obviously you are on the Book of Faces with some opinions, but any like long form nonfiction, and do you see that in your future?
Not currently. Could I see myself doing nonfiction again in the future? Very possibly.
If you get mad enough about something.
I know if I get upset about nothing again, if I start ranting about a topic enough that it just turns into a book, I might as well. Honestly, I don't know. So In Defense of the Second Amendment is the fastest I've ever wrote a book because it's a topic, as we said, you can write a book in 3 weeks if you've been talking about the topic for 30 years. And so we actually spent more time fact-checking the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had to run it through legal.
Oh my gosh, and the lawyers combed through this book. And then it was
Half of my job when I was editing nonfiction was fighting with legal.
it was an interesting. I've never done nonfiction
You
before.
got to fight
so
for
very
the author's
educational.
vision, or even in nonfiction, and legal would rather you just not write a book.
I know Lita was all like, well, can you say that? So finally we had to put that disclaimer at the very beginning about how the ATF is malicious, capricious, and constantly changes their mind. So I put that at the beginning to kind of, no, that was a fun project. So would I do nonfiction again? Very possibly. Like we talked about another nonfiction project.
One thing that I really liked about that book, by the way, was the even keel that you did. I mean, because you didn't actually do a tirade at all.
No, I actually tried to keep it. I tried to keep it educational and not just call people stupid, dumb idiots for not understanding the simple things. No, I tried to keep it as a kind of book that people could lend to their friends. Like, if you wanted to sway somebody who wasn't willfully ignorant, this is a book that you could give them and say, here, read this. I basically went through every single gun control proposal I could think of over the last 30 years and why it was stupid. And so we had 16 pages of small print citations at the end.
Yeah, well,
That took so freaking long. It was like writing a college dissertation.
you don't have to do that with a novel.
No.
That's right.
You know what my research is now? Is whatever I want. And if I get it wrong, it's fantasy. If somebody says, well, that's not exactly how the legend goes, I'm like, well, that's how I heard it.
What's another question?
So another question we've got is, I think the first thing, we have so much distraction, so many different forms of media. So this is maybe a question me and Tony ask ourselves in the dark night of the soul. But maybe you too. Why books instead of other type? What is valuable, do you think? Why are books still worth writing and reading and publishing? And please have a reason.
No, honestly, there's nothing wrong with different forms of entertainment, and you get different types of reward from different types of entertainment at different times of your life. Honestly, I think books are great because books are the best long-form entertainment product as far as like immersing yourself in a entity or in a thing for 16, 20 hours of nonstop vivid imagination. Look, I love movies, but movies are an entirely different experience. Books and audiobooks are different products, but they're the same basic brain function. I love video games. I play a lot of video games. I will smoke you at Call of Duty. Like seriously, if I wasn't a professional novelist, I'd probably be a pretty good DMZ streamer and make a living on YouTube. Dead ass serious. I'm pretty good. But that's an entirely different thing too. It entertains a different part of your brain. And there's no reason we can't do multiples. Like I watch a lot of movies. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. It's like I actually watch a lot of Guga cooking videos lately. So good. But honestly, guys, it doesn't matter. It's whatever you personally are getting entertainment by. One of the things I hate is people who get snobbish about one over the other. Like, oh, I'm so good. I don't like, And even we see this in books where people are like, I only read smart books. Yeah, well, whoever says that's a dork, okay? And so honestly, my thing is books are awesome. Where else are you going to vividly hallucinate for 20 hours?
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, I can play a video game for hundreds of hours, but it's not a vivid hallucination in my imagination. I have a thing on the screen.
The book puts you there, and it puts you there inside as well as outside.
Yeah, and listening to music, that's another form of entertainment thing. And so it's like whatever it is that kicks that in your brain, awesome. And humans need that. So whatever your flavor is, I don't kink shame. Whatever you're into. Well, actually, I do. Let's be honest. All the time. But I'm talking about entertainment products.
So this is where you get to say nice things about us. How do you see Ark? This is changing or expanding opportunities for new writers. You may not know that you're an author, not on our side of things, but I don't know. Say something. Say how cool we are for the record.
We are giving away $10,000 for this in this contest, the Ark Prize.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know about that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
You're eligible, I guess.
You are technically eligible.
Technically.
Oh, that'd be funny. Like bringing a ringer.
Oh, we would
Dude,
never.
just was like some little writing contest. It'd be like Larry Correia. I'm like, come on,
Imagine
man.
that.
It was like a local boxing competition. It's like, oh, it's John Jones. No, I'm not saying I'm the GOAT. I'm not. But, yeah, I watch a lot of UFC. We're a UFC family. Okay, so honestly, like for you guys, one of the reasons I was interested in working with you guys when you told me what you were doing was publishing is constantly changing, and this is something I've talked about a lot. This is something I talk about like a lot on the Writer Dojo. It's constantly evolving. The stuff that works now, some of the biggest things in publishing right now are things that didn't exist when I started, or they were in their infancy, or even like when my career got going, they were in their infancy. And I came up, I started self-publishing back when it was $25 print-on-demand paperbacks, before the Kindle, okay, before Amazon. That didn't exist when I started self-publishing. So a totally different world. And then I went into TradPub. TradPub has changed so much over the last 15 years that I've been there. It's changed. The entire industry has changed. All the way things are procured has changed. All the things are published have changed. The distribution has changed. The entire book industry has changed. And you either stay ahead of this stuff or you die. You either evolve and learn and grow, or you perish and you're a dinosaur. That's how it is. And so you've got to always keep doing different things. So one reason I'm doing the Athon book is because they do KU. I've never done KU before. In the last couple of years, KU has become the single biggest pile of money in publishing. These guys come to me and they said, okay, we want to, and I don't know what all I can say, but we want to do this, we want to do this, we want to do this, we want to do this. And they're telling me all these things that are new. And they want to experiment in all these different areas of business that are showing a lot of potential for the future of publishing. And I'm like, hell yeah, I want to be part of that. I want to be on that. I want to be on that wave. I don't want to be the old guy that just gets stagnant and fades into obscurity. Okay, I want to keep learning and growing. And these guys were talking about a lot of really cool stuff from a business perspective. And I'm like, hell yeah, well, I want to be part of that. Part of that cultural experimentation. Let's do it.
Yeah, and we won't go down in flames.
Yeah.
So,
Well, if they do, at least the book will still be good.
that's right. We'll get one good book out of it.
Worst case, you get one good book out of it.
So let me ask you. Let's ask one final question. How's the arm? Tell us about Jiu-Jitsu.
gosh.
Just a moment.
All right, so I'm an old fat guy, but I used to fight a lot, and that was 20-something years ago. And I decided my son was going to Jiu-Jitsu, and I was taking him, and he got moved from the kids class to the adult. He's only 13. But he got moved from the kids class to the adult class because he's just so damn big. Like little kids can't wrestle. He's like wrestling a sofa. Okay, and so he got moved up to the grown-up class, and I started taking him to the grown-up class, and I felt like being on the football team but having to sit on the bench. Right? I was like, all right, I'm old, but you know what? I'm going to get back into this. Right? You know, I can't just sit on the bench. So I signed up and I started taking jiu-jitsu again, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm having a good time. And I suck. I'm big and slow and inflexible. I'm better at punching than wrestling. Okay, but I'm trying this. I've been doing it for 4-5 months, and then we were doing a thing called Shark Tank. If you guys know what that is, or it's just one after the other, and you just take turns fighting.
You fight Mark Cuban? Is that Shark Tank? This is a different
No,
Shark Tank.
different Shark Tank.
Sadly.
Different Shark Tank. I don't think I'm allowed within 100 yards of Mark Cuban according to the court order. I was pretty mean to him on Twitter though. He did actually block me on Twitter. It's a long story. Okay, but so we're fighting and rolling, and you're supposed to tap when you are being submitted, and don't be prideful. You tap early rather than hurt yourself. Well, I went up against this guy who is he's an actual MMA fighter, and because it's just random who you go up against, and he immediately got an armbar on me. This guy is extremely good, and he's half my age. That's another thing too, is guys, when you're old, it sucks. And I got to remember, I'm not 25 anymore and indestructible, because now everything hurts for weeks. So this guy gets me in an armbar. I go to tap, only my hand is pinned underneath his other leg, and I'm trying to tap, but I can't reach him. And you're supposed to say it audibly. only I had just got over death flu, so I was all congested and couldn't hardly talk, and I couldn't breathe at this point. So my audible came out as a trying to tap him, and I went up tapping the floor, which he doesn't hear in the moment. And so he's got an arm bar on me, and he's got my arm out here, and he must be thinking, wow, this old guy is really tough. He ain't tapping. This guy is tough, and so I gotta put it. Oh gosh, no, I'm not tough. I'm old, and I'm a fat writer, and so. He armbarred the crap out of me, and I tore my rotator cuff like 30 years ago, and re-aggravated it. And so for the last month, I can do this now, and it hurts, but at least I can go up now. And I haven't shot for over a month because I can't dry fire, right? So I can't do repetitive. Yeah, so it sucks. But luckily for you guys, I can type. This angle down here is fine. And I can play Call of Duty still, because I just put a pillow. And
So the important things.
but I haven't been able to shoot. I've still been going to Jiu-Jitsu, but I'm pathetic and tap as soon as anybody looks at my right arm. Like seriously, you can armbar me telekinetically. There's the Kimura, the Americana, and then look at Larry funny, and he'll just tap out and cry.
So, well, Larry, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah. Making that drive.
My God, you came through like
5 hours.
Rain, what is this? Postman, rain, nor sleep, whatever. That's you. Thank you.